In one of my last videos, I overhauled this vise. I'd like to welcome all of the new subscribers to my channel. Now, a lot of people pointed out that this bench is really not very solid, and that's true. It's made from an old door, so it's actually hollow, and I threw it together with just some pine legs. The joints were at least mortised and doweled, so it's not that terrible. And I did also add a little bit of gusseting just to make things a little stiffer. But you can see sort of lurking behind my bolly lathe, behind my junk pile, I've actually got this really nice slab of thick plywood. I miscalculated when I made a set of stairs, and unfortunately there's a piece left over. It's kind of exactly 2.5 meters long and the width of a bench. Shame how that turns out, huh? So yesterday I fished these two out of the local classifieds. They seem pretty sturdy, all metal. The latching seems to work nicely, as do the drawer slides. So I'm going to integrate these into my new workbench, both to give me more storage, and also the whole thing will add quite a lot of mass once it's full of tooling and stuff. And mass is always good on a workbench. Only issue, terrible colour, this kind of turquoise. So I guess someone tried to beautify them with the red and the beige. Unfortunately, they used a pretty crap paint and a pretty terrible technique, so it looks terrible. The only good thing is this paint is so crappy, it feels almost like latex paint for inside, that it comes off with just a bit of steel wool, rubbing alcohol, and a bit of elbow grease. So I've already done this side. Fair bit more to do, but I'll get them clean, ready for a new paint job. I got a bunch of fabrication projects I want to work on. But so before I use steel for fabrication, I like to take off the mill scale. So it's just a dilute acid bath, in this case citric. I don't get too anal about it. It doesn't matter if the mill scale's not perfectly removed at this stage. It's quite a lot of handling. Generally it's softened up enough that between handling and then a little prep for painting, it'll all be gone. Right after the acid bath, just wash them down just to kind of neutralize the acid a bit. So to clean up these fronts and get them prepared for painting, I am having to use a chemical paint stripper. Got one I got from the local hardware store. Not one of the super toxic ones which you get from a paint supplier. This is just the one that is okay for the public use. Seems very effective against the red paint. I'm collecting up all the old paint. I'm not sure if it's leaded or not, I kind of doubt it, but I'll take it to recycling anyway. It also takes the turquoise paint off without much problem. I'm finding I'm needing 2 applications to get through it. Although the stripping function works better if it's wrapped in plastic. The used rags will also be collected and go to recycling with the rest of the paint. Have I ever mentioned how much I hate having a tiled floor in a shop? Right, so I've finished the next 5 drawers. They're just drying. So let's get started on this beast. Since this beige paint seemed to soften with rubbing alcohol, I figured I'll just try moistening some towels in contact with it and see whether that works. Now let's see if it's softened up. Okay, a little bit more soaking and now it's coming off well. Seems the turquoise is coming off much easier than I expected as well. I would have left it if it stayed nicely attached, but if it comes off, that's good too. Right, well after way too many hours paint stripping, it's starting to look a bit better now. Right, next up, got to cut the legs out. Unfortunately, some of these cuts don't fit in the throat of my bandsaw, so it's hand sawing. Now for all the criticism, this bench is not that wobbly. Whoops, went a bit off track there. A bit of grinding needed. At least I can do the short off cut with the bandsaw. Leg 1, 2. Since my floor has such uneven tiling, I'm going to want leveling points on the bottom of the legs. I think I'll just do them with 10mm bolts. For that I'm going to need a cover plate. And here I got really lucky. These were some laser cut parts for the Schaublins control housing. And these leftover bits that out of the middle should work fine. I've got 3 of them. So I just need to cut one more for the 4th leg. Let's try welding a part. Well, that sure looks like a very high and proud weld that hasn't really melted in much. Let's give it a bit more voltage, and then maybe another half volt or so. Damn, those welds are going to take a lot of grinding. They're so tall. I'm sure someone's going to tell me what I'm doing wrong in the comments section. I appreciate it. Okay, this seems counterintuitive. It says online if your beads are too thick, you need to decrease voltage or increase wire speed. Guess I was doing the opposite. Okay, so that bead's still too thick, but it is better than before, and it sure sounded better. Let's try another one. Well, I'm still not making much progress there. Okay, so I ground those welds. Not pretty, but they'll do the job. I'm quite jealous of those people who can fit a huge welding bench into their shed. I'll tack this up with MIG, but I really can't be bothered grinding down all those huge cold welds, so once it's tacked up I'll weld it out with TIG. That way I should be able to get some nice flat welds. Need less cleanup for me. Good welding. Let's call that one limited penetration, shall we? Right, tacking this up, take 2. Wait a minute, I remember how this old Tony did this with a couple of bits of welding wire. The piece up, so then you can tweak it into alignment as the welds pull, and I guess this way get the nice little gap for the weld to fill into. Let me just check something here. I'm set on 7 meters a minute of wire. .6 seconds is what I want. Whoa, that was good. 6 seconds of wire is only 17 centimeters times 10. That's only 1.7 meters per minute. Only a quarter of what it's supposed to be. Wonder if it's slipping. No, I can't stop it. Okay, so what if I crank this full on? Oops. That's no faster, huh? Okay, I gave it an extra second. That's just the speed it's giving. Now, yesterday, when I finished welding, I was chatting to my mate about this MIG welder not feeding the wire at the proper speeds. And he pointed out the problem may not be insufficient wire tension, which I checked for because it wasn't slipping, but maybe it's either too much wire tension or maybe it's the wrong roller or something. One of the criticisms about this welder when I got it, there was no instruction manual. There's still none on the manufacturer's website, but I have now found there's an instruction manual online somewhere. And from the manual I noticed that this wire drive feed roller actually has 2 different grooves for 2 different wire settings. I wonder if I can pull that out with the wire in place. Oh yeah. It's 0.8 one side, 0.6 the other, and I was on the 0.8 setting, and I think that's what the wire is, but let me just check that. Let's call that 0.8 wire. That means that was okay. Quite a nice little setup there, I think. Now the next setting would be tension. Notice that this tension setter actually has a scale on it, but it's been assembled wrong so that the scale's not visible when you're using it. Let's see if I can switch that around. Okay, that's better. Watched a couple of videos on the whole wire feed. Let's just turn this on. Can I stop it? Oh, even at very low tensions it already feeds, so at that setting I can make it slip. So let's try 180 more. Still slipping. Another 180. Okay, it stopped slipping at that speed. So let's give it a speed test. Okay, right now it's at minimum. That's 2 meters per minute. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's supposed to be 2 meters a minute, but that's only 1.4. Crank it up to 6 meters. Okay, so that's not it. It's still not feeding at the proper speed. Wonder what the issue is. Right, well, I really want to make progress on this. Let me switch the machine over to TIG. I think TIG is around negative, as I remember. I'll just check that. This is just a 2-pole on-off switch for the foot switch. I had to use an adapter from this nice American CK torch onto the welder. Oops, double check that. And it's the other way around. Right, haven't done this for a while, so let me first lay down a few beads. Right, let's get the show on the road with a weld which is going to be invisible because it's going to be under the tabletop. Well, that's not perfect. It's better than I'll ever do with MIG, I'm guessing, at least with this MIG. I should probably stop there because it's pretty unlikely that all of my welds are going to come out like that. Okay, so there's the next one I did. I know someone's going to say this is an underfilled weld because it is a bit concave, but then again, a tabletop needs to go on top, so I want it flat. You can see how the heat affected zone got wider as I got hotter. I probably should have added more filler rod or sped up or something there. It'd be also nice if I could throttle back on the amps a little at this stage. Still pretty happy with that. Won't fall apart. Mail time. Arc Captain reached out to me. I guess, I don't know, they probably saw how badly I weld. They offered me this welder if I'd use it in videos. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to be a tech review channel, but the The welder which I've been using from Stamos, which was generously donated by Alex, one of my viewers, is missing a couple of features which this has, and so I got weak. I decided to take a shot at this and see whether it helps improve my welding. It's very well packed. Box in a box. Oh, that's kind of handy. They put a little quick reference chart on the side of the machine. Good idea. Around the back, on off, and a gas connection. Oh, that looks like a quick disconnect. 240 volt standard Euro plug. Feels like it's powder coated metal, I'm guessing. And a standard sort of TIG front. Gas connector. This has got a multi-pin foot switch, so you can do a proportional power control on your foot. What else is in the box? A manual. English. What else we got in there? Looks like probably Italian. German. Maybe French. And I'm guessing Spanish. This is probably the leads and cords. So just an arc welding handpiece, 2-3 meters long, I'm guessing. Let's call it 3. The quick disconnect and hose. A wire brush with some weirdness on the other end. I have no idea what this is for. Ground clamp. I'm going to call that 3 meters. This is a pretty beefy size torch, size 26. I've got a nice little size 9 torch that was given to me by a viewer, and my other TIG unit came with a size 17, so this is by far the biggest, and it comes with a set of consumables to get started with. Interestingly enough, doesn't look like it includes any electrodes. When I unpacked this welder, I thought it was a bit of a shame that Arc Captain didn't put in at least one electrode so a newbie could get started straight away. I did them wrong there. There was an electrode in the box. It had just punched a hole in the plastic bag and must have fallen out into the box. So, thanks. So they give you 3 collets. That's 1.6 millimeter, must be 16th inch. 3/32, 2.5 millimeter, 8th inch, 3.2. Plus the matching body and 3 different sizes of cups. I like that it's got a bag to live in. Generally anything in a shop gets covered in grit and grime over time. So what's in the bag? The battery for the darkening mechanism, that's good. Oh wow, there's already a battery in there. So that's nice, gives you, thanks very much. That's very generous of you, Arc Captain. Now obviously the proper way to do this would be to take the screen out. That'll come out soon enough. Oh cool. Placement spark shields for the lens. 2 for outside, 1 for inside I'm guessing. And the matching foot pedal. I did ask my contact at Arc Captain why these things are so enormous. I think it just drives a linear variable resistor. Certainly solid. They said Americans like the big heavy foot pedals, so there you go. Right, let's switch out welders. Okay, that ain't gonna work. This is the problem when you design your tool cart around a specific welder. I need to assemble the gas hose. They've given a quick disconnect fitting which fits the welder, I guess. They've also provided this hose and the hose clamps, which is nice. One thing I will note is that this fitting is really too small for that hose. They don't provide the fitting for the gas bottle, but that's normal because I guess that's different in all different countries. So I've just snipped this off my old setup. And I'm guessing maybe I can use a bit of this tube inside that tube. Wonder if I can make that fit to get a good seal with this thinner hose. Have to heat it all up with some hot water, I think. Right, now the torch. This goes to negative, doesn't it? Now, while our captain provided me with this welder, no money's changed hands. They don't get to see this video before it goes live, so they'll see it at the same time as you. And my opinions are my opinions. Right, I'm welding 3mm steel. So the recommendation is 1.6 or 1/16 tungstens. Still have a few of them sharp. I've got quite a pile of them there that need sharpening. Well, it's also got a pretty high-speed fan. I wonder whether that's adjustable. So what have we got there? DC TIG, that's what we want. 4-touch. Let's just start with 2-touch. Pulse, no. Oh, that's nice. The fan slowed back down. That's good to hear. So now I guess we go through all the settings, right? Or is it this way? So 3mm according to the chart. Pre-gas should be 0.6. I'm going to want, I don't know, I've never done this. What's starting amp? What does the chart say? So my amperage, I'm going to want, doing about 90 amps before. Let's do the same. So what's my starting amperage? Let's try something kind of low. Maybe 20 amps. Half a second to ramp up. I'll believe that. Ramp down half a second. Let's see what that does. And to ramp back down to 20. And post gas, they said, I think 5 seconds, according to the chart. Well, it's certainly easy to set up. Cool, let's give that a go. I like the way that foot switch works. I like having the post-gas flow. This metal's kind of dirty, so don't judge the welder off it. Well, very first impressions. One, you can't hear the fan. All right. For someone like me doing videos, that's actually a really important feature, to have the thing quiet. So I really appreciate that. I don't think it's been damaged in transit. That's another thing I was a bit worried about. I guess I do understand the nice big chunky accelerator there, because it doesn't move around much. It's nice to get, you do get a nice feel on it. What I don't really get a feel for is the point where it drops from controlling to switching off was also not terribly clear to my foot. But hey, these are the sort of things that just take practice. All right, let's do a weld with it. Okay, what happened there, I was cruising along and I realized, well, now wait a minute, I don't have my foot right to the floor. That's why it was such a tiny little arc for most of it. And then I put the foot to the floor and then I got the full power. That was more the geometry of how my leg was sitting on the accelerator. I need to probably move that accelerator to make sure it's comfortable to have the foot to the floor. Okay, well I've finished welding all around the first leg, and this was my best weld that I did. I'm really starting to enjoy that arc captain. I'm now getting a feel for changing the amperage with my foot pedal. It's yeah, it's awesome. And also the way you can feather off at the end, brilliant. Okay, still need some work on those fillets. If your first pass doesn't look that nice, just go over it again. I kind of like that. Kind of looks to me like that might be just a little bit too cold, that weld, huh? Up the amperage a bit for the next one. Right, now we get to everybody's favourite aspect of TIG welding, which is regrinding the electrodes. That one took a bit more grinding because there was a big booger on the end of it. At this stage I was having so much fun playing around with my new welder that I didn't even notice that my battery on my microphone went flat. This is probably about the best weld I did. There was a few bits which seemed nice and even, but then I got kind of out of my timing. Unfortunately, while adjusting the part, I brushed up against the really hot torch with my wiener, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part is I broke off the stinger. Anyway, I just epoxied it back together and left it overnight to dry, and now it seems fine again. Right, I really need to get these legs finished so that I can move on with assembling and welding the whole frame. I'm not going to grind the welds away completely, but I'll just knock down any high spots. Typical for a process like this, I'm now getting close to maximum clutter. So let's declutter a little bit. All the bits are now too big to do anything more on this little table, so I can put that back against the wall. Now the floor in this room is not flat, so I can't do the main layout that stretches the table in here. It's really only one room that's got a flat floor, so I'll have to use that. But what I need next is this nice thick piece of ply, which is going to be my new bench top. It's been lurking down here for the last God knows how many years. Sorry about the audio for the rest of the video probably. I bumped the gain setting on my microphone and didn't notice it. So this floor was poured leveling screed, so it's probably as level as I've got. Probably should have tidied up the wire pile before I started, huh? Right, I hope my structure's gonna be strong enough that it doesn't fall apart. Hey, speaking of structural failure, did you guys see any media on the Austrian Airlines Airbus that got its tailplane broken off? It was in the media here a week or so ago. Basically the plane had been towed, not by the airline, but by the airport company. It looks like they probably put it in position, didn't put any chocks under the wheels, drove the tow truck away, and the aircraft just rolled backwards, smacking into, I think, an air bridge and a light pole. built up enough inertia to snap off the tailplane, which looks pretty terminal. I wonder if it's repairable. On aircraft, the brake systems are reliant on hydraulic power, so your brake pedals will move, but you won't actually apply the brakes unless there's some hydraulic pressure. If you have a complete hydraulic failure, there are hydraulic accumulators with a bit of nitrogen pressure to give you a last couple of pumps of the brakes before the system until all pressure is removed. It's called the emergency brake pressure. Yeah, that's why you have to put chocks under the wheels. Right, I think the next thing, I'll get this bench out of the way, bring the frame in here. I still need to make up some brackets to mount it to the wall. I need to locate the holes for the vise, maybe put a couple of brackets for that. But basically I want to do all that in this area and then paint it here because it's so heavy it's going to be a nightmare to move otherwise. So here's the evidence that it was only ever going to be a temporary solution. I never glued it together. Just put those kind of gusseting braces on it made out of boards. One gentleman was very upset that I showed cleaning the floor with a broom. The guy felt that I was wasting his time. I'm thinking, dude, you're watching YouTube. Isn't that kind of the definition of wasting time? This is the pad the heat pump used to sit on. Really glad I moved that out of my workshop. Makes a horrible noise. Right, well I've put adjustment on all 4 feet, but I've just realised that this floor is so incredibly off level that I've run out of adjustment. So I'm going to need to get longer bolts, at least for the front 2. It's all a bit oversized at the moment because I would like to keep this space for my drill press. I'll need to chop off this excess of table. Right, that looks like it'll be okay. Now I'm going to weld a couple of angle iron underneath it for this to bolt through into. While I was chopping up angle iron, I also made up a couple of little brackets just to bolt the thing to the wall. Whoops, wandered about there a bit. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm a good enough welder to be able to review something as sophisticated as this, but I must say the ability to set pre and post gas durations initial amperage ramp up. I do think that makes it easier to use for a beginner. I am looking forward to learning to use the 4T mode and practicing with that. At present, I've got no real projects for aluminium, so I really don't have the time to learn to weld aluminium with its AC function, but it's something I'm sure I'll do one day. Right, well, that's the end of the welding. I'll just, while it's upside down, I'll undercoat the bottom half of it. Right, now while that undercoat's drying, I can make up my new height adjustment for the feet. Just had them soaking in vinegar to take the zinc off because I need to weld these bits together. I have to try and remember not to make salad dressing with this bottle of vinegar. Now I'm guessing this black needs to come off to get a decent weld. You know, one thing I really need to learn when welding is not to video the first welds I do, but to video the last welds once I've had a bit of practice. Right, they can get a bit of never-sees on them. The long ones go on the front legs. I don't really know how important it is to level a bench this much. So, vice mounting holes. Didn't somebody say something about chamfers? To hold the rest of the table down, I'm going to use my oversupply of M6x25s, but I probably don't need that many. Just one at this back corner, because the front's well dealt with. You know, I don't think I'm going to put any more fasteners in the middle of this. I reckon it's going to be fine if it's just located on the two ends. This is such a massive slab. Well, it's a pretty high bench, but that was kind of driven by the height of those cabinets. And for doing detailed work, that should work okay. Last push for completion. When you plug the saw into the vacuum cleaner, it kind of makes sense to do that as well. Oops. I'm going to need to chop this and put the fitting further up. Right, now the table can go for cleanup. Where did my hole go? Maybe I only counterbored it. It didn't drill through. Hey, I just realised I got the wrong paint colour here. This is much too grass green. If you compare the colour with the Schaublin, it's supposed to be much duller, RAL 6011. Turns out when I took the can in and asked them to make the same colour again, the sticker on the can said RAL 6010, grass green, but the paint had obviously been mixed to a different colour. And I also got some different paint, but it's also supposed to be RAL 6011, much duller, so I think I'll just try mixing them and see if the mixed paint will still go hard. Right, in its 10 years of storage, this tabletop got a bit scungy, so let's just give it a bit of a sand back to make it look nicer. Well, that came up better than expected. There's a few stains on this end that don't look like they want to come out. But the big, what look like oil stains down the far end, got a lot better. I don't want to go overboard on this because, I mean, it's still only a workbench, right? Alright, I'm going to need to seal that wood, so let's make up some shellac. Right, leave that overnight and it should have dissolved. I guess in the meantime I can glue and screw this backboard piece into position. I'll just lube that screw a little because I don't want it breaking off. Right, well, I've let this little test patch dry overnight. It's definitely an improvement on the grass green. It's still maybe a little brighter than the Schaublin's RAL 6011, but it's pretty much what I want, so I'm going to mix them all together and be done with it. I don't think there's much left in this one anyway. I wonder if anybody ever removes this bench sometime 50 years in the future and wonders what subscribe means. Oh wait. Oh, that's not the back. I thought I was riding on the back of the thing. This side actually is going to be visible, so I guess I better paint that a bit better. The shellac tends to raise the fibres of the wood a bit, so let's whack them back down. You know, for bigger projects like these, I think it's only fitting that it picks up a maker's mark. In corporate colours, of course. And a big shout out to my daughter for making the linotype, or whatever these things are called. So can I still get these holes to line up? plug those up a little. Well, I only had two 10x70s and I think two 10x80s, and they're too long. So I'll have to go back to the hardware store and get some other bolts. My original plan was to paint the draw fronts the same green. I kind of like the look of them just in steel. But I think I'm just going to zap them with the wire brush. May take the last little bits of paint off them, put some wax on them to finish them off, and leave them like that. So once I've got the bench bolted down, I decided to also throw on one of these. Super convenient to be able to add sockets, move them around, Ethernet, whatever. So that's going to be nice. The new bench is super duper steady. Doesn't move at all. Right, well, I think I'm going to call this a finished job. I decided I'd finally mount the acoustic panel up here above the space where I do my live streams, just to absorb the bad reverb a bit, and replaced a bad old strip light with a nice LED panel. So all in all, I'm really happy with the outcome of this. I'm looking forward to using it, and I'm sure it's going to be a big improvement on that wobbly bench I had before. And for supporters of the channel, I'm doing a next Patreon live stream discussing my current and upcoming projects on May the 5th at 9 in the evening Central European time. Love to see you there. Thanks a lot for watching. And also a big thank you to Arc Captain for reaching out to me and supporting my channel with this new welder. So I've really enjoyed using this machine, and I've bought a whole bunch of extra steel because I've got a few other projects, so you'll see this in a few future videos as well.